I just realized on all that, and I wish somebody had said something, that I had our mics muted. So it's a good thing we aren't too far.
It's good that we found out now. It's good that we found out now and not at the end.
Not at the end of the episode.
Right.
We gotta do it all over again.
Well, it was mostly just startups. Yeah, we were just starting stuff up, and we talked about the trial not having a really good ending on it, and the fact that Kyle will be missing this week because he is away. So it wasn't anything too terribly important that they missed. I might just whack out some of that portion because no point in them sitting through it. And sorry to those who are actually in the audience, but nobody texted me to say that there wasn't any sound.
Well, I can always copy paste a recap.
Oh no, it's not necessary. That was not a terribly important segment. But anyway, you are now you're leaving the halls of justice and heading home. You basically got to go across town from the Hall of Justice all the way across to Trolls Alley. And you've got quite a jaunt, and you've got a long day ahead of you because you still have money that you have to scrape up for the last minute for food and things that are coming in. You're trying to get those gathered together, get yourself ready. You're only about a day from the opening, and it's starting to reach panic time, so you're probably in kind of a hot to trot mood heading back up to Troll Skull Alley. Anything that you are going to do on the way, I will say as you pull into Trader's Way and start up towards the north, you will notice people in the market assembling a large performance tent there that was not there yesterday. You can pretty well assume that it is the Sea Maidens Fair that has come to town, and it has to do with that. Anything you wish to do?
He's just going to stare at the traveling circus troupe, and will just make some offhanded comments quietly to himself.
Very good.
I'm gonna basically act like they're not there, period. Did I have a chance to talk to the widow?
Yeah.
After the trial to hire her on?
Yes.
I was pretty much going to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, she has been offered a job, and she says she will take it into advisement that she may take you up on it. She has some funds from a fund that he'd been putting away money, but that she's not well off, and it might be something she may take you up on later. But that right now she just wants to think about what happened and go home. So you may have a visit from her later.
Yeah. Well, if not accepted right away, she's at least welcome to join at the opening. Like she has an invitation to come and at least
drink away her sorrows. Yeah, and she says that might be of interest to her, and that she might drop by for that because she needs company and probably some drinks. So she might drop by for that.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else that you wish to do before taking off for Trollskull?
Is this the place where we would get where we could buy food and drink for the week for our tavern? Like, would this be where we can set up that delivery?
No, those would be at the guild halls themselves, and this is the kind of smaller stalls that people come to every morning or every afternoon to get their needs for the day for individual homes. It's not the large suppliers. The guild halls are the types of places that would have bulk meats and that kind of thing that you would need.
Yeah, and burly guards.
Oh, okay. Anyway, gotta do that. Dang it. Okay, so Varys just AFK'd real quick, and what I wanted to do next kind of involved him, so I'm gonna have to wait till he gets back.
Okay, anyway, I'll start you up
Sorry.
Sam, are you going to do anything in this area? I can start talking about the trip back.
In the market? No, I don't believe so.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yes, Lynn?
Oh no, I was just gonna ask. Would the market have any place that sold talismans or trinkets or things to set up like little personal home shrines to deities at all, like things of that nature?
Yes, there are quite a few tourist and sundry stalls of various types, religious stalls that sell necklaces, amulets, magic pouches, whatever, depending on it. In this town, they try to cater to just about every religion that isn't considered something that people want to run out of town on a rail. And so there is quite a wide variety. If you might not find what you want at one stall, but you would at another.
I guess I would find the first person and ask them if they would know where one could procure, like blessings or enchantments for a home. Like for just like I don't know. I kind of call it kind of weird, but it's like if you've ever seen those little Japanese lucky cat statue type things, like one of those for the tavern type deal. Not necessarily like that, but just something to.
You wish to ask one of the stallmates and not the cleric that's right next to you.
You were on my list to ask also, but I wanted to ask.
A tabaxi merchant behind the stall looks at you and goes, "I have many wares here. You do not find what you want in front of you? What exactly are you looking for?"
That's a good question. I'm not
Charms.
even sure to begin. Kind of.
But basically, he motions to the wall behind him that's like whatever equivalent of a pegboard that just has rows and rows of pegs on it and multiple necklaces, bracelets of similar make hanging on a peg, like 6 of them on a peg and 100 different kinds behind him.
Now, what would I have to roll to see the authenticity of these?
That's what I'm worried about.
History roll.
History roll. Thank you. I'm pretty good at that, I believe.
That's what I'm kind of worried about. It's like I could buy it from him, but it's like the actual effectiveness is like.
And that is a 7. I'm distracted.
Wouldn't that be a religion roll, actually?
But yeah, if we're looking for like a religious charm or something for blessings.
If you're looking for the accuracy of how these are made, it would be history to see if they were an accurate item that has been obtained history-wise. If you want to, do you want to see if they, because it's not like they represent the deities properly. They represent individual. Now, as far as their magic or whatever, it's in the eye of the beholder, you have to realize. And these are barter booths. You may realize that they are not terribly valuable, but are being sold for 4 times what they're worth. But I think of somebody wearing a cross. They might wear a really gold cross that could be as authentic to them as somebody else wearing a brass one.
So history is more like, do they have any inherent abilities or like any actual good luck attached to it?
Correct.
All right. Well, in that case, I don't have any advantage on this, but let's see what happens.
I only had a +1. Yeah, any better.
The group of you doesn't look like have done a lot of studying on iconography down through the ages, so you're not quite sure what you've got here, but you can definitely see that there are just about every religion represented on all kinds of trinkets.
Can I just try the history roll also? I'm kind of
Sure.
curious to see if I would.
I will limit yours somewhat to the to the lands that you are familiar with. Some of these religions might not be familiar with her, but Nakri, notices that there's a mix in his shop. All of them look like they are probably selling for more than they are worth, but there is a mix of things, some of which looks like have been obtained through legitimate religious temples and may have historical value, have some age and antiquity on them. Some of them look like they were made as copies of those yesterday.
I am going to eyeball one in relation to a particular deity. Just debating on. I'm trying to remember how I have Nakri's voice too, which is like kind of ridiculous. It's been weekends of accents, I swear.
Yeah, and consider a DM who runs several games and has accents for all the characters in all the games. I frequently use the wrong voice.
Yeah. Nakri will just straight out just ask about if they've got any particular statuary and like an incense burner for the platinum dragon.
He will turn around, look like he's perusing and thinking very deeply, but you can see sitting on a counter below the necklaces and amulets behind him, you can see an incense burner in a gold color shaped like a golden dragon right there on the counter, but he's like looking all over and he goes, now where is that? That was a very valuable, I hope so, no one lifted it. Oh, here it is. Oh, most valuable it is. Ah, you have a fine eye for such valuable things.
Now, exactly how much is this going to cost me?
25 gold is worth hundreds, but is fair time, so I am selling for a pittance of the price.
I give like a and just like kind of turn my attention elsewhere.
And the Tabaxi cat guy goes, pardon, sir, but do you have a cough? I also happen to sell fine cough medicines.
It's fine. I just had a tickle in the throat.
25 doesn't seem that bad. A bit pricey.
Can I roll an insight check to see if the Tabaxi would be willing to go any lower?
Yeah, and you can do it with advantage.
I will take that advantage, please.
Basically, Waterdeep is a city of trade and barter. Everything is for sale, and everything can be twisted down to a lower level if you know the right words and have the right way of convincing somebody.
In that case, Roland's going to step in as politely as he can and say, my good feline friend, perhaps you don't know exactly who you're talking to. This fine lady, this sweet noble from afar, as I said, is a traveling dignitary from her own lands, a foreign noble on visit to the city. Now just imagine, my good sir, imagine how good you would look with one of your wares in association with this foreign noble, this foreign friend of Waterdeep. Perhaps enough to go down to maybe 10 gold?
Ah, most generous apologies for noble lady. Is most ashamed that I have insulted her. But it's now explaining why a noble lady understands value of fine object here. But you wish to take bread out of kittens' mouths. It cannot be done. Perhaps perhaps noble lady would be willing to pay this most starving one, perhaps 15 gold?
Brilliant's going to lean over Snockery and say, "Take it. That's the best you're going to get."
How about this offer as well? I'll do the 15, and you come over tonight to the Troll Skull and a free drink on the house for your most generous lowering of the price.
He is most thankful. This is most generous of noble lady and her great associates. I will be most happy to come by and spend drink with you. We will toast to the success of everybody. Where is Troll Skull Alley?
And I'll explain how to find it from where he is, and just remind and pay over the 15. And go. And just remember, it is only for the first drink to celebrate our opening tomorrow night.
He is most welcoming. Thank you very much.
Mhm.
Is anything else I can get for fine noble peoples?
No, but if you come across any interesting stories of artifacts, please, I would love to hear about them.
I will be remembering this. It's always good to know where fine archaeological digs can be sold to a discerning buyer. And he will just smile broadly
Yep, marking that off.
and hold out a lot of Benny from the Mummy kind of tokens, like, don't you want some more? Wouldn't you like to buy a whole bunch of tokens?
Mhm.
Alright, so I've got that marked off, and I have the statue in hand.
Very good. Anyone else have anything to do on the way home?
No.
I will casually. Rillian's going to be mumbling to himself as they head them. Is Varys, and since they live in Troll Skull Alley, is Varys and his family with them?
I am at this point assuming, since the whole of you were kind of a group in the courtroom, that you have all moved in, including the parents, into the market. Everybody is there. Varys, Alvi, and Embrick are there as well. And so that's where everybody is at the moment.
Okay. So, Aurelian is going to mutter to himself, loud enough for the entire group to hear. Says, "All right, need food, need booze, need to find a brewer eventually to make our own booze. Still got a lot to do, too much to do, a lot to do."
I'll just put a hand on Aurelian's shoulder. Easy now, easy now. We have the rest of the day. We'll get all of that matter sorted. We still have time. Not a lot, but we still have time. We'll make it for the opening. That I promise.
Miss Nakri, what is it that we are still need to procure for the opening?
We have the licenses to sell everything, but we do need to actually have the items worthy of selling. And that is, I think, the last bit of things to procure before we are completely ready. Everything
and what would that be?
We need a week's worth of food and drink, and I have got the gold right here. He patches the pouch hidden in his robes at his side. Want to do that before the end of the day. Should be delivered in a fairly timely manner, but if we can, I'd still like to do a quick patch job of the basement and see if we can get some brewing equipment down there. I know we don't have anyone to do it yet, but we need to hire a brewer eventually if we're going to cut costs on our actual booze.
Well, I wouldn't say completely cut
Keeping
costs.
in mind that
Supplement.
Varys is kind of standing like a foot away from all of this.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
are hearing this.
Yes.
Yes. Hint, hint.
I may be able to find something, hopefully later tonight.
Wait, let's segue to Mike. He's been trying to get in.
I would have loved to have said my piece already.
Nope, you're not allowed.
Nope.
Yep.
Cutting off.
All right. Good enough, folks.
You need to be more assertive.
In any case,
With this group, there's no such thing.
I guess not. Excuse me.
New voice,
I,
trying to handle the voice.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to see how long this one lasts. I still haven't gotten it pegged down, man. Voices are tough.
I know. You'll get it eventually.
Anyway,
That was utter malarkey in the courtroom.
yeah, sure was.
Probably not the best to openly discuss here in the marketplace, but it could have gone better or worse.
I will assume you are doing this as you're walking, so I will slowly kind of move the token.
Mm-hmm.
It is too bad the magistrate were able to leave before I could get their attention.
What would you have said?
I would have called them out on their blasphemy.
Really?
In due time.
Blasphemy? What do you say?
That is a holy house of truth and justice, and there was no truth nor justice to be had in that house. All 5 judges are unworthy to be seated upon next to Tyr and Ogma.
It was rather suspicious that they had already been paid 1,000 gold before the case even started.
I already knew it was suspicious from the moment that the head judge was mingling with the Lord, what's his name?
Zord.
Ooh, that one's a piece of work, he is.
As I said, they committed blasphemy.
And was it just me, or were they trying to pin it on... And he gestures over to... On you, Lady... It was Lady Knockry.
Yes,
It was rather
unfortunately,
blatant.
they kind of did overlook the idea of why the hell would someone from a foreign area cause problems in a city that they are trying to establish a reputation in business with on better behalf.
Well, they didn't entertain the idea, of course. It was.
They can entertain the idea all they want. It's my reputation now on the line versus their illustrious words.
It was rather obnoxious, yes.
Anyway, it's over. We won't see that occur for about a year's time.
Oh, please. They've already tried to self-invite themselves to the tavern tomorrow. I politely, declined acidically.
Yes, I noticed.
I saw that. Neat trick you have. Speaking of the tavern, I had heard you talking about a brewer. Or lack thereof.
Well, we're still establishing things, yes?
With the, you were planning on opening on the festival tomorrow.
With luck, yes.
That's a short amount of time to find a brewer. I can help you out temporarily. We are neighbors now, after all.
Do you have a brewing equipment downstairs?
Well, no, I'd have to procure some, but once I did have some, I could brew whatever you wanted, really.
Relina's going to grab him by the shoulders and peer into his eyes and say, "How fast can you make booze?"
How fast can your eyes change colors?
And at
And he like
saying
as he
that,
starts looking at each eye.
saying that, his eyes begin to change color at milliseconds in tandem with each other, like
a kaleidoscope.
Caw from the Jungle Book on steroids, and
on a
you are
second.
beginning to lose focus.
Hold on a second.
I wish I had Constitution save. I wish I had some kind of a graphic that I could put up that would make my eyes start to glow here.
Varys does not succumb to epilepsy.
Thank God.
Well, I tend to stick closer to teas and such, but I'm no stranger to brewing alcohol. My favorite is a raspberry honey mead that I have. I can give
Answer
you
the question.
by tomorrow. I can have probably, well, it depends on how many ingredients I can find, but GM, how much would I be able to make if I started the brewing process tonight?
The quickest liquors would be pretty green in a day. But if you brew overnight, I would say you probably would be able to have the equivalent of about 30 bottles of your home specialty, what will become the tavern specialty.
Okay, in that case, I can start you up and have ready tomorrow about 30 bottles worth. You might want to wait until more the afternoon. Until then, I can sell you some of my family.
All right, kid. All right, kid. Here's the deal. With Nokri's permission, I'll fund the funds for the brewing equipment and get the cellar spruced up a little for you downstairs. You start brewing, and I'll also spring for some extra booze to tide the customers over while you brew up something that'll really knock their socks off. Do we have a deal? He begins shaking him.
Not quite. After his brain stops rattling. Not quite. There is one other matter. I have a little bit of business outside of the city I must attend to at some points. And I don't believe I can do it alone. If you agree to help me on this, I would be more than happy to give you to brew for you, as well as provide you the alcohol you need at a discounted rate.
Free labor! Nokri! Free labor! Take it!
I'm just going to chuckle and shake my head. Relian, calm thyself, please. You don't want to rattle him so hard that he can't focus now, don't you? Varys.
Lady Nokri, I don't think you've ever been throttled by a sea serpent before. That'll knock your socks off.
There's a lot of things you don't know about me that I have done.
Ooh.
Epiphany, kind of lumping along beside you, says, "Must keep brain fresh." I'm going to be making a Khajiit voice on this, but anyway, I can't make an. I can't make it.
Like, no.
I wish I could be elsewhere.
Yeah. Anyway, in an epiphany voice, he says, "Must be keeping or must make the alcohol maker stay healthy."
Water elf.
As Relian is shaking him, he's shaking him slightly more lightly now, but he hasn't stopped yet. As he's shaking the poor boy, he actually looks at the rest of the party and says, "Oh, speaking of things that need to be doing, I actually kind of promised our dragonborn neighbor that we would find a missing tome for him. He'd offered to pay us, and he apparently has a really good reputation in the neighborhood, so I thought, what the hell?"
Yes, and I need to do that little job I told you about with the herbalist.
As you
She
are
needs some
saying
herbs
these
outside.
things, I want all of you to give me a perception roll with advantage.
Wow.
Wow for me.
Yay, 15, I'll take it.
God.
I have a 21.
I pinged nothing. I'm like, alright, great, cool.
You are all pretty much involved, but Varys, you need to change your names on the game so I say the right name. I'm about to say Mink. Varys, Relian, and the Shepherd all are just enough aware of what's going on. The rest of you are kind of listening to the conversation and thinking about quests. You hear a commotion from behind you at the market. Then you hear a bunch of screaming. The screams last for perhaps 3 minutes. You hear some crashing and banging. The rest of you are in conversation, and it's far enough away that you don't pick it up. It is only about 2 minutes later that all of you notice a contingent of guards, some of them mounted and well ahead of the others, galloping madly south along the high road that you were traveling north on towards the market. You also see, as you turn around and watch them gallop into the dust towards the marketplace, you also notice a large group of every level of people, commoners, noble, everything else, running north and south along the high road away from the market, basically scattering from the market.
I start walking in the direction. I peel away pretty much right away when the horses come, and I start following in the direction of the horses.
Are all
Sorry.
of you going to go? Yeah.
I was going to grab somebody who is running away and try to find out what's going on. Like, wait, what happened back there?
Monster! Let me go, monster!
I'm not. Cashin isn't sure if she's referring to what's going on or Nockery.
Yeah, she just rips away from Nockery and keeps running.
No, I'm going to quickly turn around and do a head count and be like, okay, Epiphany's with us.
Well, it has certainly gotten more exciting since you all moved in.
As you start to move south towards the marketplace, another group of people come by. These are dressed in what look to be like maids' uniforms.
The battle maids have arrived.
No, I'm talking about housemaids. They sort of people that were in the market buying the day's groceries. They have baskets on their arms, and they likewise are rushing. You are shoved aside by a pair of what look to be servants of some kind, a man in livery clothes and a woman in a fairly nice linen dress. Looks like she is high class serving maid or maid in waiting kind of thing for a thing, and they really shove you aside like they're really trying to get away.
Cashin will sidestep them and just yell at them, "Hey, where's the fire?"
Can I grab the man in livery as he's running by?
No, because Relian is still shaking you.
Oh.
As
I
we're
would
moving,
have-
he is still shaking you.
I would have broken off the grip at this point.
Strength test.
Oh, come on. Can I do my? Can I? So
Do
Captain said.
a strength
I
roll.
said, "Where's the fire?"
And they just
Waiting for a reaction.
yeah, and they look at you with really big eyes, and they look more like they're afraid of you than they are anything else. And the woman, especially, her eyes get super big. I mean, she's very, very frightened. And she just, after a long pause, she looks you over, looks up and down the street, and points back in the way of the market. And then keeps running.
Okay. Well, he's rather confused, but he'll just draw his he'll keep his hand on his rapier and forge ahead.
Varus will also start trotting. He is significantly faster than them, so he'll start going ahead of the group a little bit to see what.
Yeah,
All right.
Relian is going to look around and say, "So, are we making this our problem now?"
Well, if we can help, then certainly. If it's a monster, they may need assistance. Otherwise, I really wish you didn't get involved, but here we are.
I'll see you all back at Troll Skull Alley if we get separated.
Yeah, Knocker's too much of a good person to sit back and hear about problems, so she's gonna at least go see if the guards need assistance.
I swear to Mistra, if it's another troll that came through the yawning portal, I'm going to blow someone's head off.
No,
If
we
it
want
is
that. If it's a troll that came through the portal, we want the skull.
Oh, that's true.
Priorities, boy! Priorities!
Okay. So you arrive back at the nearest entrance and start looking around to see what's going on.
To see what?
To see what's going on. and there is pandemonium everywhere. There are guards running up and down, many guards interviewing stall owners. Not far from the stall where you were purchasing the religious artifacts, you notice that 3 of the stalls that were at the end of that row are now in complete destruction. They are nothing but board and canvas material laying on the ground. They have been completely demolished. There is a halfling merchant type that is pulling his hair out and jumping up and down and screeching something or other. However, you're clear out of range to be able to hear him at this point.
Oh.
Well, Cashin just calmly slows down, and he really looks to observe the damage. Investigation or perception?
Is there a monster running amok?
No. It will be perception at this
sure that would come
distance.
up.
It'll be perception at this distance, and if you go up and actually turn over the boards or do anything, it'll be investigation. Yeah, you are. What exactly are you trying to determine from the distance?
He's just trying to see how they fell down.
They are scattered like they were, I don't know, beat apart with a huge sledgehammer or something.
Well, the image of the troll that Relian mentioned is the first thing that comes to his head, but he then cautiously approaches the guards and just shows them his hidden emblem and says, "What's the problem?"
The guard kind of holds a hand up, looks at your emblem, and he goes, "First question, sir. Do you have any magic users among you?"
Yes, 2 or 3.
Where were they when this broke out?
They were just up ahead on the high road.
They weren't within the bounds of the market?
No.
I would probably be reaching at this point.
Reaching for what?
Or catching up, I should say. I don't run, I walk.
Then if you can vouch for the fact that they were not in the marketplace at the time, we might need their services.
So this is a magical incident.
It is indeed, sir, and he waves his hand at the stalls. If the halfling over there can be believed, a giant hand appeared and attempted to grab a young thief who seemed to be trying to make away with some of his goods. It missed the thief entirely, swung around in the air uncontrollably, and wound up demolishing 3 of the stands.
Huh.
Good old Florida man.
Did they describe how this hand was created, what it looked like?
He just said it suddenly appeared and that it just looked like a big blue hand.
Rillian's going to shoot his hand up and conjure up his spooky hand and says, "Did it look like this, but bigger?"
You'll have to ask the halfling, sir. I've got to calm these people down. We have several injuries from people running into each other.
Well, Cashin nods and approaches the, I'm guessing, still irate halfling.
Oh, he is indeed. He is about as irate as they come.
Well, first off, Cashin will approach him, hands up, and say, "Hello, I'm going to have to ask you to calm down first before I ask you questions about what happened. And do I need to roll persuasion?"
Yes, please do. And he's just standing there for the moment going, "Calm down! Oh, my wares are all over the ground, and you would be upset too if a big hand suddenly grabbed your whole booth and threw it all over the field." And finally, when you just keep calming him down, eventually he, all right, what do you need? I already talked to the guards. What do you need?"
I'm here to help. He just tells him that he is attached to the city guard. Well, he is one of the defenders of Waterdeep, and he just wants to know what happened.
Well, I told the other guards it was just a normal day. I mean, everything was going normal and people were moving about. And then, one of those street urchins came running up and stole a whole loaf of bread right off of my stand and started running away with it. The next thing I know, this enormous, and his eyes get bigger and bigger, and he keeps holding his hands out further and further, trying to remember how big it was, and he finally motions his hands out as far as they can go, and he says, well, bigger than that! This big blue hand floating in the air, and it just came down towards the thief, and the thief started running and screaming, and the bread wound up on the ground, and the next thing I know, the hand is going, and it's bashing everything down, and it's going around in circles, and it's knocking people down, and people start running and screaming.
What would I have to roll to see if I understand what kind of hand this is? This obviously sounds like a spell.
Arcane, and Relian would roll it with advantage.
Yeah, I only got a 9.
Relian, are you going to roll? Oh, jeez. Your rolls are so bad. Who actually has this? Actually given this, it was Relian, right?
If I helped Shepard, could he roll with advantage?
I mean, I already rolled, so
yeah.
Can I know it's gonna be weird, but knowing that I have to know what different things do, even if I don't practice them myself, could I do an Arcana check to see if I?
Sure. Anybody can do an Arcana check.
Oh, thank God.
Hey, there you go.
Oh, Celia, I know what the spell is.
Based on
her
her connection with others that are able to cast such things, and her understanding of the information you guys have been given in the last couple of days, this sounds suspiciously like a Bigby's hand out of control.
Well, I am slightly relieved now.
Well, I know what we're taking care of now. This is technically still part of our investigation that we offered to help someone with.
I see, Lee.
It is our business. Oh,
I see, Lee. The reason Relian rolled so, I want to say the reason rolled so low is because he's not actually paying attention. He's actually using Mage Hand to help him pick up the various loaves of bread and food items, and then using Prestidigitation to clean them and put them in a nice pile for the man.
Aw.
Oh, you're so nice.
Aw.
I don't want your magic kissing my loaves.
I'm insane. I'm not a jerk.
So will Nakri share this information?
I'll go up to where Cassian and the guard are and go. Based on what I'm hearing, it sounds like a spell. I've seen many people cast it before. I think it's usually called Bigby's Hand. And oddly enough, I think it's relevant to something we offered one of the people that we know from our neighborhood to go find. The property of theirs was stolen.
Oh, you mean the book? Oh, you mean the librarian?
The book, yes, and that was stolen, and I think this might be a repercussion of it.
Someone using their book willy-nilly.
Basically.
So we got a would-be wizard on the loose.
I guess the main question we would have to ask ourselves is, what direction was it casted from? Because normally it wouldn't be too far away from the caster, except for I think I've seen it casted up far as about 30 feet.
He just shrugs and he looks to the guard. So what did other people say? People that you were able to interview?
Well, everyone seemed to say that this big hand came down and swooped in an arc downward and then just seemed to be out of control for a while, bashing everything, and finally sort of took off into the sky and evaporated.
Excuse me, my good oh, sorry.
Which way were the fingers pointing when it was first summoned?
Oh,
That would probably be for the
Upkeep.
halfling.
The halfling, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He would've...
Yeah, he turns to the halfling and asks him that question.
interesting story, sir. Or question, sir. Which way? Is that important? Is that really important?
Actually, it can be.
It came out of the north, right towards the thief that was standing right here in front of my booth, running away from it over there, and he points towards the circus tents. He was running that way, and the hand came from the north and swept down towards him. I guess the fingers would have been pointed kind of south.
So the
hand and the thief came from the tent?
No, the hand came from the north. The thief was running towards the circus.
He was running eastward. He wasn't. He just said in that way. And I say he kind of pointed in the direction of the circus tent, but he pointed that way. He wasn't really saying he was running back to the circus. He was just saying.
This thief is. What was this thief? What kind of creature? Male, female?
Anything particular about their clothes?
He was one of the street urchins that we have a lot of problems with.
Oh, just a child then.
Just a second, I gotta get it's actually a person that is real.
I mean, I know a baby does so very well, but it's like, how to play a character kind of knows it, kind of doesn't.
That's why I couldn't get it. I was spelling it wrong. Okay. You ought to be able to spot him, sir, if you can find him around here anywhere, but they tend to slip into the shadows. That one, I've seen him before. He's a tiefling, you know. One of those tieflings, and he's the one that wears the big hat usually, but he didn't have the hat on this time. I would have known him in a second if he'd had the hat on.
Pardon me, my furry-footed fellow, but you wouldn't have happened to see the caster themselves, would you? Perhaps a glimpse of where the spell originated from? A flash of clothing? A peak of gender, maybe?
Well,
that's what I was asking him.
I can't be sure, you understand? Because I'm not much into magic myself. I sell bread, but I know that the first group to start screaming was this group of serving women that were up there towards the north, and those food booths up there. They were standing there, and the whole group of them started screaming like mad. And the whole group of them started running, and most of them were standing there kind of like, and one of them was standing there like, and well, she might have been trying to cast it. I don't know. She was in a kind of a different pose. She was in a very fine, like linen, handmade sort of dress and had blonde hair.
You said blonde hair. Pardon me for asking, but do you remember what color her clothes were?
Oh, it was a tan serving woman, linen dress with a white apron.
Let me ask you another question. Does the name Lady Elena mean anything to you?
No, can't say that it does. No.
Unfortunate.
What are you going at?
The closest I can come up with is Lady Marlena. That's Marlena Deschamps, but that's not the same thing.
No.
Relia, what are you getting at?
None of your damn business. Now, I'm kidding, of course, CC. But, well, the shopkeep that gave me the info on the stolen tome said that it was housed to 3 very useful spells, and I'm just curious that perhaps if this is the result of one of those spells being used. What's more, he gave me a description of the lady and a name she used, and blonde hair was one of the check marks, as it were.
And it wouldn't be too far to say that if it was a noblewoman who ended up taking this book, not accusing, of course, but just in the off chance that it was somebody of noble refinement, it doesn't really take much to alter one's very elaborate name to be slightly less elaborate and dressed down. Trust me, I've done it enough.
Well, I've got a crazy idea, and you'll have to forgive me, but an idea is forming in my mad little brain. You'll have to forgive it, but you see, he said something else. He said that she was wearing a very fine green dress, and it didn't quite fit her right. And she had an accomplice who appeared to be in workman's or servant's attire himself. I don't think this is the work of a noblewoman. I think this...
handmaiden?
Her handmaiden who might get it in her head that magic might be useful.
One of those.
Well,
Lovely.
Excuse me, my good sir, but do you happen to know who these handmaidens worked for?
Oh, not particularly. No, I see them. They weren't all together. You have to understand. It just there happened to be a group of them at that particular stall, and he points up to one of them that's up in this range up here, so up the north side, and says they were just milling about shopping. You understand? All of them. They were just up there shopping. They had baskets on their arms, and they were shopping. They had some attendants with them, some various people, some men in livery and various things that were there as well.
can you tell me where the stall owner is?
And he points at one of the stalls in that row
So, just to for the rest of us, so we need to find two things. One, where that gaggle of hens ran off to, because I believe they ran past us as we were coming this way. Secondly, we have to find that child.
One thing at a time.
An urgent. I know. I'm just putting a checklist together. But let's see if we can't get more description from the stall they were closest to.
Yep, and Cashin's already going there.
I will, it's the bread vendor we're near right now, so I will hand him, 5 dragons as a way for him to recoup some of his losses from the broken stall, and, just tell him, it's like, if you're ever near Trollskull Alley, please swing by the tavern sometime. We'd love to see you again.
Thank you, my lady. Thank you very much. This will help quite a bit to restore my losses for the day. Oh, I've got to put the whole stall together. I'm going to have to get some workmen somewhere. And he starts looking around. You, sir, over there.
Is our ship buddy with him?
Tully?
No, not Tully.
Heldar.
Heldar. Is he still with us?
No, he went off by himself.
Yeah, I would
okay.
imagine so.
Well,
I want to send word for him to come help this guy rebuild. But
Rillian
there are
to,
quite a number of people around now. There's
yeah.
looky-loos and everything else starting to mill into the square, and he collars a couple of burly young men and starts ordering them to start stacking and holding things up while he's putting things back together again. It's kind of like Tinker Toys that he's trying to reconnect.
Yeah.
Anyway, on to the other stall owner.
But, yeah, as they're moving away, Rillian would point to the pile of now clean food that he set up on the tarp and says, "Your food's clean, bye."
Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah, be careful with that board. It goes up there. please, and now get the tarp, pull it over.
Relian, remind me to come back here and find out his name. We might be able to procure some breads in the inn, like breakfast or something.
I will if a more important piece of information doesn't fill up that part of my brain. Like what color a duck's bill is.
Cashin, meanwhile, has gone up to the booze, which that row of booze are all the types of food items that homes who can afford such things would get for the day. There would be everything from pre-prepared casseroles that could be purchased to individual fruits and vegetables and things to make stuff from scratch. It's obviously the kind of stalls that would be very, very popular with upper class and noble homes whose serving staff had to get all the groceries for the day and prepare all the food.
Well, Cashin approaches the one stall owner that if that stall owner was pointed out.
Yes. There is an elf that was pointed out, pure elf that was pointed out, that is talking with his arms crossed and occasionally gesturing with other people, obviously talking about the events.
Well, he casually approaches the woman, and says to him, "So I heard you saw what happened."
Well, I saw a lot of things, and some of them I'm not quite sure what I saw.
Did you happen to see a blonde-haired woman in serving clothes, linens?
There were several here standing by my hall. In fact, by my stall. In fact, there were probably 3 that you'd call blonde. One has particularly golden-colored hair. Yeah, they come by every day.
Would you say any of those 3 would be tall, per se?
Possibly.
I would consider them all pretty much average height. You're asking about a blonde. There's one that comes by every day that's an extremely tall brunette, but she's not blonde.
Well, when the incident occurred, did you see them doing anything?
What they were doing was what drew my attention to the disaster first. I turned around when the whole gaggle of them up and down. There were several serving maids from numerous houses up and down here, and they all started screeching like some kind of banshees, and they were all standing there with their hands up or out, just warding themselves like they were terrified and screaming their heads off. And I looked to see what they were pointing at and what they were looking at, and there was this giant translucent hand floating around. Well, it wasn't really floating. It was like bashing around, and it just caused mayhem down there in those stalls.
Yes, we're aware of. But were any of them doing something? Strange pose.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of trying to figure out. Elaine was there with her hands out like she was frozen. She was just, the others were jumping and wiggling with their hands up in front of their faces like they couldn't bear to watch, or they were terrified and they started running. She was like she was frozen for a moment with her hands just out like a statue stuck in front of her.
Relian is immediately in front of this man, steepling his fingers together, and he's looking at him and says, "Can you repeat that name, please?"
Elaine.
And his eyes glow golden before returning to their usual mismatched switching, and says, "Very interesting. Do you know this girl intimately? Do you know who she serves?"
Intimately? No, sir.
I mean more personal, like someone you would see almost every day.
Oh, that I do. Yes, she comes.
Intimately, in the fact that if you saw her face again, you would instantly recognize her.
Oh, absolutely. She serves at the pleasure of Lady Marlena de Champ.
Well, I think we have our culprit.
Oh, at least a lead.
I know where we're going.
Oh yes, time to make some fun introductions. A curiosity question for you, my good sir. And she'll tip him a dragon for his time. Did you happen to hear any sort of weird language, like almost like an incantation or something being spoken aloud just before the incident happened?
It's entirely possible, ma'am, but I have to tell you that with the screeching and babbling going on, people were making sounds that didn't sound entirely human out of terror. So it's rather hard to determine if some of those might have been some spellcaster babbling something or somebody just babbling because they were so frightened they couldn't stand it.
Anything about a thief before that?
Anything
like
what?
Stop thief.
Oh yes, I did hear some yelling something about, he stole my bread, he stole my bread.
Gotcha.
That's not as important.
By any chance, did you happen to see a tiefling child at all?
Yes, I think that's probably what keyed all this off. Now, you're not saying that Squidly is anything to do with this.
He might have been the target of that hand.
That might be, but you're barking up the wrong tree. Pardon the language. Sorry, Forrest, but you're barking up the wrong tree. If that's kind of, he's a wood elf, and it's kind of like cursing in his language. If you think that tiefling had any ounce of magic in him, he's nothing but a troublemaker.
No. All I'm saying is he may have attempted to take one of the breads. Attempted. I'm not saying he did. Attempted to do something.
It was Squidly. There'd be no attempting. He's usually in here at least once a day trying to steal something.
I think what we're trying to get at is that whoever used his hand may have tried targeting the boy.
We just want to make sure he's okay.
Well, last I saw, he was hightailing it out of the market as fast as he could go.
If by some chance you see him again, just tell him to be more careful.
Quick, call the fire brigade.
Yeah, some more of the guards are arriving.
Those are some strange sounding horses.
Hey, they can have points too.
Yeah. I think we should at least let the guards know that a kid was the target of the magic. It wasn't malicious towards the stalls or anything like that. Blah, blah,
blah. Cashin is also just going to tell them that a possible suspect is the serving girl. Elena, was it?
Elena.
Yeah.
Who served
Elaine.
Oh, Elaine. And that she's a servant of this lady that we keep hearing about. Starts with an M, I can't remember.
Marlena de Champ. I'll put it. Yes, that's kind of the clue.
Got Elaine and Marlena.
Marlene.
Marlene?
Well, darlings, I do think it's time for me to go get a bit gussied up and go make some introductions. A perk, I suppose, right?
Yay! I'll put on my best robes, and by best robes I mean these.
I don't see why we... Never mind.
It's just to get the foot in the door, darling. You know how this stuff works.
No, I really just kicked down the door.
Unfortunately, you'll get in more trouble kicking down a door like this than politely knocking and smiling.
Is that why you're not a guard anymore?
Damn. Oh,
Ouch.
damn. Ouch.
The burn. I felt that from here.
Trust me, you don't want to know why.
Meanwhile, the shepherd is
sometime.
Meanwhile, the shepherd has departed and is already making his way to the circus tent.
But yeah, Cashin isn't really phased by that burn.
Where did the shepherd go?
I don't know. Did people see me?
You ever
Well, considering you're walking, I imagine you're not too hard to spot.
I mean, you'd probably be halfway across the. I'd assume that they'd look around and there he is, way over there.
Yeah.
I'm doing that typical like mother hen type routine of going like, okay, where are all my freakish children? Where'd they get to?
What you are seeing, Shepherd.
You're equally freakish.
What you are seeing, Shepherd.
That is insulting.
Anyways.
What you are
Plus,
seeing.
he's probably older than you.
DM.
What you are seeing, Shepherd, is as you walk across the market, the tent is not assembled yet. It is being assembled. There is a large crew of rather burly workmen and a group of drow standing in rather refined clothes around them, giving orders as people carry things back and forth. Most of the workmen are the very burly races of various sorts that are trotting poles, canvas, equipment back and forth. Several of them are starting to use mechanical devices to assemble these pipe-type poles as they're starting to put up the main attraction tent.
I approach whoever is closest to me and ask them, pardon me, have you seen a little tiefling child run by from the commotion in the marketplace?
They kind of look around. Oi, anybody seen some tiefling child here? And a couple of them look up from what they're doing and said, "Oi, it was Squidly. He knocked a bunch of stuff out of my hands as he ran through."
Yes, I've been told that was his name. Where did he go?
Yeah, off to the streets. He don't have no residence, Governor.
So he didn't stick around. He didn't try to hide.
No, he hightailed it out. He's off to his hidey hole.
Do you happen to know where this hidey hole is?
Not a clue, and I don't rightly care.
Insight. Insight is 11.
He looks like he is far more concerned with his work than he is with any information, but he doesn't look like he's deceiving you. He just is bored with the questions, and it's just a street kid.
Then yeah. Thank you for your time, gentlemen. Apologize for interrupting you, and then I guess, look around to wherever the party had gone to and see if I can try and briskly walk, catching up to them.
I think they were kind of heading in your direction.
Oh. Then yeah, I would meet them halfway.
Okay, so you have a bunch of information. What next, Governor?
Well then, time is of the essence.
I believe the next order of business would be to, since we can't immediately do anything, get some brewing supplies.
I mean, there's that. Get this stuff, and we'll have to make the swing around to. Hopefully, nothing else magical happens.
That would have to be done at the Brewers Guild. They basically do all the legal supplies of brewing equipment because it has to be certified and stamped.
How far from here is the guild area?
The guild area is up in, let's see, gotta see where it is. It's the large buildings. I don't have it marked on here, but it's the large buildings. Let's just call it this area here, because there's a group of buildings up in this area somewhere. Oh, here it is. It's this group of buildings here.
Okay.
Some of them are there, some of them are here. It's kind of, I'm going to draw a freehand around it. It's this zone here is where the guilds tend to be. The larger buildings are the guilds.
Okay.
Guild Street.
From there, where would most of the noble houses be again?
In the North Ward.
In the north. So
In our ward.
Yeah, the
roughly right
middle
around in here.
upper middle class is in the North Ward, and some not so well-to-do nobles. There's a mix in the North Ward, and then of course Castle Ward is where you have entire estates of true nobles that are related to the open lords and such things.
Before I would like to, before we leave, inquire with one of the guards if they know where might we find Lady Marlena's place of residence.
Yes, I can show you it. Do you have a map?
I believe so. Yes. Hold on a moment, and I'll dig around through pockets and offer him the map that I carry with me.
And he will point out a section, about halfway between the marketplace and your place. Give me just a second. There's where he points out. It's a reasonably nice estate, but Lady Marlena has seen better days. She's getting along in years and is widowed, so it's starting to have harder times.
I see. That's unfortunate to hear. My condolences to her on that. And we'll try to swing by and say at least politely introduce ourselves, since we're actually relatively close neighbors.
Excellent. She probably will enjoy some company. She's a sweetheart. She really is. She's in her 60s somewhere.
Mm.
Well then, I think we have a heading, my dear gents.
Yep.
Since we're close to the guild hall, shall we stop there first and get what we need, so our dear associate can get brewing tonight?
I think that sounds like a swell idea.
I'll also need to buy some raspberries and some other ingredients.
If strawberries will do, I know a guy named Heinen that could probably supply some.
No, I heard he got his cart crushed by.
Oh, so all the strawberries are gone. Too bad.
All the strawberries are gone.
Strawberries are out of season. Let's see, you guys are in spring, so yeah, they're coming into season. Fruits are coming into season.
What? No, we're in fall.
We're in fall.
Oh, this is the fall game, right? Yeah.
Yep.
What's a fall fruit?
There isn't any.
One that hits you on the head.
As long as it's not too terribly cold, the summer fruits would still be around. It hasn't really gotten super cold yet. It's just leaves are starting to fall off the trees a little bit.
Ooh, actually, you know what? Actually, Autumn, you know what would be great? Cider, like hard cider.
There'd be lots of apples available.
I will slip Varys about 11 dragons and 45. What's the silver? What's the equivalent right under?
Moons?
Shards, or are you talking about silver
Yes,
shards?
silver shards.
Shards, yeah. I'll slip him 11 gold, 45 shards for the supplies for later.
Okay, I am flipping through right now. Brewer supplies cost 20 gold, so
he's funding a good chunk of the money.
yeah,
And
so
you will only have to do 15. You have some parts of it downstairs. It's not enough to get started with, but it's 15 that you have to get up for the brewing equipment.
Since you'll know exactly what you'll need, she's just gonna hand you the money directly to be like.
So how much is? How much
you gave me 11 and how much?
45.
45.
11 and change.
$11.45 dimes.
Question: how much is the brewing equipment, and how much is the brewing supplies? The stuff
Brewing
will actually
equipment I can get for 15 gold pieces, and then the supplies
Oh, that would
Looking
just
at trade goods.
yeah, that'd just be kind of a. Apples would be one of the cheapest fruits you could get right now. So I would say that you could probably get 4 bushes of apples for a gold.
Dang.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's a lot of apples.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Moving
Okay,
into
so
next
let
month.
You know what I'm going to do when the curse be lifted. Eat a whole bushel of apples.
I'm checking other stuff as well. So give me.
Gotta
Yeah.
love Barbosa.
Anyway, Cashin suggested divide and conquer.
Okay, where does Cashin want to go for his part?
He wants to go to the Champ Manor and confront the serving girl.
Well, we're all going there.
We're going there, but we need to be prepared for that one.
Yeah,
we're all going
we
there.
We can't just walk up at some noble's house
And
and be like, we need to talk to your handmaiden now. Blah 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 blah.
Plus the guild halls are on the way. So
exactly,
Yeah,
that
we
was
need
going to be
get
my
this stuff
point.
settled
Yeah,
before we
it's
do anything else.
just a normal arc that you can make through the guild halls,
So
past the Deschamps
alright.
Manor and on to home.
Okay.
So I can pay for the weeks long food and booze while he's getting the stuff set up. I do have a question though. So the kitchen is repaired and we have kitchen equipment. So I've got all that. And Varys now has enough money for the brewing equipment and the brewing supplies. Is the cellar repaired?
No,
The only thing there wasn't really anything to repair. It's just empty casks and bottles.
There,
Okay, so you can just...
one of the
fill,
casks was broken, and they had to be cleaned a bit because they had what liquor remained in them had turned to vinegar. But
Right.
We can use that.
Yeah, it's basically yes, and vinegar can be used in cooking, and it's legitimate.
Featuring our signature cellar vinegar.
Yeah.
It was here when we moved in.
Oh God.
Yeah, that's not going to be advertised.
Yeah, but wine and apple vinegar are standards, and vinegar lasts a very long time. You can put it on the shelf and it'll last for decades.
So the cellar could, quote unquote, be repaired just by a late night's worth of cleaning.
Pretty much, yes.
Okay, then yeah, Brilliant would, while going through the guilds, he would cough up 50 gold for a week's long supply of food and another 50 gold for a week's long supply of booze.
Half that to 25 on your part, Sam. I'll chip in the other 25 to make it 50. 25 apiece for each one. So you're only paying 50 total for, and then I'll chip in on that 50.
Cool.
And then I will get, I will bring up a cask of my raspberry mead that I already have at the blacksmith shop.
And the meats, breads, vegetables have been handled, covered for pay?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
All right, so
Yeah.
you have your dinner meal materials. You have your dinner utensils. The downstairs of the troll skull has been cleaned up and put into enough of a working order to be ready for guests. The back of it is still a bit shabby, but the front entrance where they come in is in good shape. The kitchen is in good repair. The pots and pans have been set up to be delivered. They're going to be there. The cellar is going to be handled. I would say that it looks to me like you have everything you need for opening day.
The last bit I want to do, and we can handle this, just might be off screen, like just handle it after we handle the whole handmaiden thing. On our way back to Troll Skull Alley, Relian wants to pop into the herbalist shop and buy some incense to put in our braziers to hide that god-awful smell.
Yeah. Because we still have that smell from outside thanks to El Jerko.
I think oh no.
Or Ingir
No,
has
I
some
like
she
that.
can donate.
Let me just check if I don't think I wrote it down, so I'm just Continue on.
Oh, I actually have incense.
That's what I was going to look around to see if maybe I had.
Yeah, most
incense as
priestly
well.
kits
I do
have
not.
incense, but yeah,
But I'm not,
that
I'm
kind
not
of priest.
I'm not an acolyte, so I
Yeah.
don't have that equipment with me.
And you call yourself devout?
I am. I pray in my own way,
All right,
as
so
my God intended.
let's see now. The trial would have ended about 10. Let's make it closer to 11. That would have taken a while. So just,
Yeah.
They would have broken for lunch, as judges tend to do, and made sure the trial was finished by then. So somewhere before noon, the trial ended. It would have taken an hour in the furor of the marketplace and another hour in the guild halls and so forth. So I would say it's about 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, we actually do have a bit of daylight left. So yeah, I say we just go to the Le Champ Manchin.
Yeah.
The champ.
I will have taken the time to not wearing all layers of armor, but
Yeah, you said that you had tried to cut a fine line last week so that you were a little worried a fight would break out, so you wore some of your armor, but you wanted to
Yeah.
still look like a noblewoman, so you had some of it
yeah,
tucked
so I'm
away.
still dressing that then. I'll just probably fuss and really kind of put on more of the noble garment, so to speak.
What would you say your armor class is at the moment, if anything happened?
Probably. I'm trying to, because at the current moment it's 18. I want to drop it reasonably, but still have it.
Let's say it's 15 at the moment, temporarily.
Okay, yeah, I can do that. I was gonna say 14, but yeah, I'm good with 15.
All right, so you move around to the Deschamps Manor. You find a house that in its better day would have probably been quite elegant, sort of Victorian-ish, as we might think, with a lot of gingerbread on it. Obviously, a lot of workmanship went into the exterior of the building, a lot of time and energy, but in recent years, paint is peeling a bit, and the railing looks like it could probably be fixed in a few places and this type of thing. The manor is pretty good size, probably has something like 6 bedrooms in it. And there is a garden/stable area out back that looks to be able to house some animals. You are, let me get your token, you are almost at the manor when more trouble breaks out.
Oh boy.
You hear yells and screams, and you see smoke coming up from the back of the manor.
Well, time for some well-intentioned trespassing.
I grab Relian before he can even try to move.
So where is it coming from now?
The back of the
manor.
Deschamps Manor.
Is it something that we could see easily, or like is there like a path that can get back there easily, or does it look like it's too well fenced off to get to see proper?
It's pretty well open in back, and Roll20 is deciding it's not going to let me put this on. I'm not sure why.
I see the smoke.
Do you? Because I don't.
I see it.
I see smoke.
Okay,
I see a
well,
little purple circle.
The purple circle I see, but I don't see smoke. That's interesting. Once before on Roll20, we had a situation where I couldn't see a hand that was right in the middle of everything, and I think it's done it to me
yes.
again. So
Good
I'm
old ghost hand.
yes. So I'm
We had
assuming
lots of hands.
it's done it again, because to me there is absolutely nothing on that map.
Anyway,
The audience is doomed, but we can see it.
Yep.
Mhm.
Varys is going to look back at the rest of you, and I'll go see if I can find out what that is. And using his, yes,
No, I was going
I
to say, wait, don't.
yeah, I still have my hand on Relian in the back. I would refrain from doing so. You may implicate yourself in the matter.
oh no, I'm not going on their property.
As you're talking and discussing this, guards start running in, neighbors start running out of nearby houses, brigades are formed with people with buckets from nearby wells, and you can see people frantically passing buckets down the line into the garden area in the back.
I'm
Well-
gonna go. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Oh no, there's someone in the burning house! Quick, let's go in and get them out, and start going out there.
Roll a performance check.
No, it's not really a performance. It's pretty much just like, yeah, okay, we got enough people here. Let's go in and help.
Yep.
That way we can't be. Other people got there first. We showed up to help. We're not implicated in this.
You arrive to see a past middle-aged, white-haired woman, rather slender, running. The smoke suddenly, just like poof, appeared, and the video will attest to this. It just suddenly poof appeared on the screen, so I can now see the smoke. It wasn't there
Yay.
before, but now it is. So I can shrink it
Yay.
down just a bit to where it should be. Okay, the smoke I drew isn't far off from what it is. Anyway, you arrive to see 3 servants, a man in livery costume, 2 women, and this more elderly woman wringing their hands, standing in the street as everybody is frantically trying to do it. The man kind of calms the elderly woman and then runs to help in the brigade.
The man in livery, is that the same man that ran past us? Suspicious.
I'm going to approach the noblewoman and go, ma'am, are you all right? We saw and heard the screams.
Something happened. Something happened. We don't know what. From what they said, I've lost my cow and my chickens in the fire. Oh, this is terrible.
Cashin will approach as well, and he'll scan the air. He'll scan the crowd to look for the serving girl.
Ma'am, do you know who else was back there at the time?
Well, my serving maid was milking, and she was the first one who came running to announce the fire.
Where is she now?
And she points to a girl beside her who kind of looks up at you with...
That's how she's looking at us, like
Sheepish as fuck.
Description.
I'm going to
blonde hair, linen tan dress, and a white...
I'm going to put my hand on her and say, my goodness, what a fright. You must be so scared right now. It's so good to know that you're all right.
Yes, it was quite terrible. I have to take care of my lady. Please excuse me. She's lost part of her. Whatever will we do for milk and eggs?
I'm going to then turn to the Okay, sorry. I'm wording this in my head, and I'm just like, this is gonna be interesting. I'm going to look at the noblewoman and go, my lady, I'm Nakaris Nakari. I'm one of the owners of the Troll Skull Inn nearby. Is it possible if I could just have a moment with her to find out more information, to see if there's anything we can do to help?
Oh, but of course, please, Elaine, would you help her, please?
While Nakri's doing that, I actually have a question. I don't have any magic that would help with the fire. However, I do have this. if I joined the fire brigade and was toting buckets of water, could I, if I willingly took some damage, could I help better put out the heart of the fire?
You would be able to stand considerably closer with much less injury. But I would roll for your injury since you have resistance. You would have any damage that you took.
Okay, fair enough. Because Aurelian, he wants the dang book, but he also wants to help. So what would you say I roll for damage?
Sorry.
I have something that could probably help. I have thaumaturgy.
Does that help with? I don't think that helps with fires.
You cause flames to flicker, brighten, dim, or change color for 1 minute. I could dim the fires.
Dim the fire.
Dim the fire. It just gives off less light.
I'll look to Aurelian and the shepherd to see if they can handle something back there.
Meanwhile, Varys is these barrels of water that people are toting around. Varys just uses shape water and starts water bending the water out of the barrels onto the.
Very good. With all the efforts, the flames are dying down and the smoke is dying down.
I still have my hand on this girl, and I'm going to look at her. Go, how on earth did a fire start that back there, young lady? And I'll just calmly guide her to one side, just a little bit out of earshot of her mistress, so it's not too suspicious.
Accusatory.
But at the same time, if she wants to confess what the hell she just did, she's got the opportunity.
And Cashin will be near the noble lady just to keep her ignorant.
And she's just wringing her hands. She obviously doesn't have any idea what's going on. She just keeps saying, "My poor Sally, my poor Sally."
But that bullshit.
Can I insight check her?
Yes. Always. Yes, and exactly what are you attempting to determine?
Just to see how guilt-ridden she is over the cow.
That was the noble lady.
It was
it was the noble. I thought it was the girl. Sorry.
No, it's the other. The other one, actually, the girl. I mean, there are two girls next to her. One is brown haired.
I meant insight check the one I've got my hand on.
Elena, it looks distressed about the cow and chickens as well. She looks pretty upset as well. And when you insight her, she actually is quite upset. She is very distressed, and she's just like on the verge of tears.
I'm going to talk calmly and talk low and say to her, "Funny how you were here during this, and when that giant hand crashed into all those stalls. Funny how two strange occurrences just happened to come around you."
She's looking more and more upset, and she's looking really tense.
I also know how funny it is to be discovered in Milady's garments.
Please, ma'am, please, don't tell anyone, please. I didn't mean any harm. I didn't mean any harm.
Where is the item?
Oh, it's clear. I can't use it. I'll get it. It's in the house.
Not at this moment, but as soon as things calm down, bring it to us. And you never have to worry about it again. Keep this up, and you will be in dire trouble, young lady.
Oh, yes, please, take it. I don't want to ever see it again. Oh, I thought magic would be easy. They said that I had some talent, and I couldn't afford the school. I couldn't go there. It was hundreds of gold.
Have you tried talking to your mistress about this?
Oh, she wouldn't release me from my contract.
Maybe not at the moment, but at least talk to her. She confides in you. She trusts you. Any hand servant of a noble would.
Yes, but I did ask her if I could go become a mage, and she laughed. She said, "You can't afford that." And she's right, I can't, and I have to keep working.
Okay.
Become a what?
Okay.
She wants to become a mage.
Oh,
Well, now
okay.
this is tugging at my heartstrings now. So Relian at this point would have rejoined the group. He's patting down his smoking clothes and he just goes, toasty! And for those of you who are perceptive enough, you swear for a moment that underneath one of his singed sleeves, you'd swear, are those scales switching between red and blue underneath his sleeve before he quickly readjusts his clothes? And he hears a good chunk of this, and
Relian the chameleon is. We're at this point, we're not surprised.
and thinking back, how much did his schooling with the Temple of Mistra cost him?
Well, your schooling, you basically committed yourself as an acolyte. And so the schooling is part of your holy training. You received holy training as part of it. However, to become a mage, you have to go through a long trial period to show that you actually have the talent. And then you have to go to the mage tower in the Colette Towers, and you have to submit yourself to their inspection and start a long apprenticeship. And you have to come up with 100 gold just to start the apprenticeship.
Just to start the apprenticeship. Very tempted. Okay, so he would actually look at her and magic, from what I understand, leaves a mark on people. Would I be able to tell, is she a wizard or is she a sorcerer?
It's right now it's wild magic, and it's very hard to detect. It has not been formed, but you would see an aura of abilities in her that is shooting off spurious little sparks, like it's been overused, and it is not trained or formed into any kind of aura like you would expect to see. It's been like you've attempted to stick a 110 plug into a 210 socket.
So technically, this kid basically becomes a danger to her own mistress if
She
left
becomes danger
unschooled.
to everything. Yes.
Elena, let me ask you something. Why did you want magic?
Magic people, they're honored, and they sit on the council, and they walk around in fancy robes, and they can do everything.
Oh, I wish that was true, Elena. I really do, but we can't do everything. He's actually going. Hold on. He's going to just shoot a few multicolored sparks into the air, and he says, "We can do a lot, but we can't do everything. But I'm going to ask, do you want magic to help yourself and other people, or do you want magic just for the prestige that comes with it?"
She stops and thinks, and you can give me an insight roll so I can tell you how much of the expressions on her face you're recognizing. Yeah. There are a lot of emotions running across her face, one after another, and you can tell that this is the first time anybody's ever asked that question of her. And you see at first a decision, like she knows what she wants, and then she kind of stops and thinks, and she goes, I don't know, sir. This job that I have now is once in a lifetime for someone like me. I was in the orphanage, and for a lady to take me as her lady in waiting is, well, that's quite a step up. I wear fine clothes, and I always eat, and I have a fine roof over my house. I shouldn't be sad that I have that, but it would be nice to be somebody. And I suppose it would be kind of nice to help other people be somebody too.
Elena, I don't tell everybody this, but do you know the Temple of Mystra?
Do you know the Muffin Man?
Oh my god.
Damn
You
it.
had to ruin the dramatic moment, didn't you?
Always.
Bad.
Can we mute him just for about 5 minutes, please?
Keep going, dude. Come on. Break a leg.
What was the question?
Have you ever been to the Temple of Mystra?
Don't do it.
It's on Very Lane.
Oh, Alice, Conrad, I swear to Christ.
Yeah, of course.
Hey.
She says, well, I haven't been there, but I know where it is.
They take people who have gifts, a talent, and I can see it. These eyes just aren't accessories, you know. I can see you have a talent. What kind of talent? I'm not sure what that is. I'm not sure if it was gifted to you. I'm not sure if it awakened when you touched the thing you really shouldn't have taken, or if you were born with it. I can't tell yet, but they might be able to. And if it's something you want, if this is something you feel like you need to discover at least for yourself, if you're willing to dedicate yourself to them, if you're willing to dedicate yourself to a new mistress, Mystra, the mistress of magic, then they'll teach you. They taught me. They'll teach you, free of charge, so long as you're truly dedicated.
There might be another solution to this, Relian. Your suggestion is actually a very valid one. It might also please her lady to have a skilled mage at her side, as well as a very dutiful handmaid. She could have the best of both worlds.
I
her
never
mistress
thought of
understood.
saying that to her.
A skilled magic user in the employ of a noble isn't certainly out of the question. It's happened before, and
It happened
a
with my
skilled
family, too.
mage, and a skilled mage might stop things like this from happening again.
She kind of looks at the barn area and just kind of, her face flushes blushing red.
Magic isn't easy, Elena, but it's worthwhile. And at this, Brilliant would actually grab Elena by the wrist. He's going to actually take her over to the noble lady.
Nakri will release her hold on her.
She's looking more and more frightened as you drag her toward the noble lady. She's clearly afraid that you're going to tell everything about her.
Don't worry, this is going to be great. This will be cool.
Nakri will follow and stay close to them and just gently pat her on the shoulder, like kind of reassuringly.
Okay.
And
So
Cassian's just
you
gonna
come up,
look at them as they approach.
and as you come up, the woman, the older woman is sobbing a bit, but she's saying to the servant girl who's next to her, "Well, at least is there anything left of Sally that we could use for food?" And the handmaiden said, "Perhaps some, ma'am. It's not all destroyed. The chickens, I'm afraid, are beyond help."
Pardon me, milady, but I have an interesting proposal that might solve a few issues, and perhaps a few issues in the future as well.
"Oh, really? I could certainly use some kind of good news here. There just seems to be nothing but bad news in the last week."
Well, we were able to discern what might have caused the fire. It might have been some unfortunate neighborhood ruffians, and, one thing led to another. But we were also able to discern that if it weren't for your capable handmaiden here, who has an unexpected talent, the fire might have actually been much worse.
the fire maiden. I started to say the
I
handmaiden.
love that band.
Yeah, the handmaiden who has been looking like.
Don't worry, this is gonna be great.
She's just like she's starting to warm up to this real quick.
Lies.
Shepard, shut up.
Reason.
I'm not there. I'm
Yeah.
still in front of the building.
Good. Then you don't hear this. Then
No,
that
I
doesn't
don't.
hurt that doesn't hurt your delicate sensibilities.
Okay, so the lady, the well-to-do lady says, "Oh, I would be interested in that, and thank you, Elaine. I'm glad. Did you burn yourself?" No, milady.
Well, milady, it turns out your handmaiden here has a gift, a certain talent. I'm not sure how she acquired it, but she has a certain talent for the arcane, and I see her aura myself.
Oh, really? She mentioned something about that a while back. Elaine, you spoke to me about that, correct? Yes, milady, but you said that it was 100 gold, 100 dragons to enter the apprenticeship. But he says maybe I can do it for less.
What I'm saying is, there's absolutely nothing in the texts of Mystra that say a acolyte can't devote themselves to both our otherworldly mistress as well as an earthly mistress. What I'm saying is, if you would be willing to give Elena a good bit of time off every now and then to go and dedicate herself to learning and to learning the ways of Mystra and the sorcerers and wizards who serve her, then that would serve you well in the future. I mean, a noble lady with a capable magician in her service? I mean, what could be finer?
The woman kind of pulls herself up, and you can see a slightly different side of the lady, the noble side that clearly has some background in other things. And she kind of considers this thing, and she says, I could possibly consider that, but with certain agreements you have to understand. I am getting along in years, and I am very much in need of my serving girls and cannot afford any others on staff. Therefore, as long as she is able to keep up with a sufficient amount of her duties and is willing to extend her bond time long enough that she will serve me for at least a period of 5 years as magician, should she actually achieve certification from the tower, I might be able to see my way clear to this.
And at this, Cashin pulls out a bag of coins. And he gives her a bag of 50 gold dragons.
Who's
Would
she?
this help the Lady Marlena? Would this help Would this help with her apprenticeship?
Oh, but of course, but I understand it's going to be cheaper to start. This will at least attend to some of the expenses of the household, and I will set aside a large portion of it for her education. I will do so, yes.
Wonderful. And one more thing. Relian would actually search about his person, pat himself down, make sure it didn't actually get caught in the fire, and from his waist pouch he would pull out a letter, one of many he keeps on his person, just in case he runs into people like this, because this is actually one of the things acolytes of Mystra are supposed to do. He hands the sealed letter.
Which letter?
Sorry.
Mink. He hands the sealed letter to Elena and says, "This is a sort of a recommendation letter to some of my fellows at the Temple of Mystra. Tell them Relian sent ya. I may not act like it, but I'm actually in good standing with those fellows."
She nods. I thank you, my good sir. Elaine, I believe this is yours now, and she hands it to you. Are you willing to serve me for an additional 5 years to be covered in such a fashion for your schooling? And Elaine drops a very heavy curtsy. "Oh, yes, milady. Absolutely, milady." And she glances over at the liveryman that is standing near, and there's kind of a look passes between them like relief.
I actually would be standing next to the liveryman as well.
There's no words. It's just a look that passes between them. It looks kind of like relief.
But I would actually approach him. Curious, isn't it? To the liveryman.
You said what?
Curious, isn't it?
I beg your pardon, sir?
I said, curious, isn't it? How catastrophe just seems to follow you.
From what I'm hearing, perhaps some of the catastrophe will be less in the future. Thanks be to the gods.
Oh no, the gods were not here to lighten your load.
My pardon, sir, but you seem to have the best of me. Exactly what are you referring to? And he kind of steps further away out of the hearing of the others.
What exactly were you doing in the market?
I was attending the maids.
Inside check. As soon as I get to the right page, inside. That's a natural 20!
He is telling you a half-truth, but everything he is saying is true.
You were attending to the maids. What for? I know you were holding information from me.
Well, I was carrying packages for them to bring back to Our Lady's Manor.
You do realize that it is blasphemy to lie to a priest.
I am not lying, sir. I was
You
attending
are
them.
lying by omission.
Sir, we are very much in love, and she unwisely hoped that if she could develop her magic, she might be able to afford to buy off our contracts, and we might be able to start a life on our own.
There, and I put my hand on his shoulder. Don't you feel lighter now?
I suppose, sir, I'm not a terribly religious man.
Don't be thankful for the gods. They were not the ones that interfered with whatever happened here. Whenever you do have time, be thankful for my friend that is helping yours.
I am, sir. I am hoping that she will not harm herself any further. I was afraid she was going to kill herself.
Luckily for us, that was not the case. Unfortunately, there were some casualties.
Well, to the best of my understanding, nothing but the animals.
That is what I mean. Unfortunately, the lady has lost some of her property.
Yes, I intend to come up, already did, sir, plan to come up with the money. I had a small amount saved, and I intend to go purchase another cow and chickens for her. I already had that in my plans.
Well, that will be on you. I am not worried about some lady's lost possessions. She certainly has enough to make up for it. I do have...
Indirectly, it was our mistakes that caused it. I should never have helped her get that book. She didn't have the capabilities for it.
Where is the book now?
Inside the house, I believe, in her room.
I will need you to retrieve that for me.
God. Sorry, I'm laughing only because we have like 2 different groups now currently saying, "Go get me this book."
Right.
Here's the sad part. I was about to say something that could have gotten you to disappear with the guy to get it. So I mean,
So
Go ahead and say what you're going to say, and let's put it together.
I'll just look over at the shepherd, kind of eyeballing what he's doing off to the side, and then just in like this weird mock, like, Shepherd, what happened to your book, darling? I thought you had a tome with you with your gods. Did you drop it in the back?
And obviously you would have. I'm not sure
that
that.
Would refuse to go with you.
But yeah. Okay, so both the serving girl and the liveryman look at each other, and they go, "My lady, may we go help him get his book?" And she goes, "Oh yes, I need to talk with these people about the arrangements on things. Please do, Elaine. And Miss Sandra, would you please see to getting some people to clean up the stable area? We're going to have that rebuilt, and we'll have to see to getting another cow." And as the liveryman is starting to walk away, he turns and says, "My lady, I will handle that. Don't worry yourself about it."
Yeah, Rillian's going with them to retrieve the book because that's a magical artifact, and that's kind of his shtick.
No, you have to stay with me now.
But this is my book that we've already made clear.
Yeah,
Never mind.
It's going into the hands of the group, so
I'll give it back to you when we have.
Yes.
Yeah, because this is technically your quest.
Yeah, this is just a way to get one of us to go get the book. And
I also still have one more question to ask them, but I want to be further away from them with this.
Okay,
so in that case, Rel would stick with the noble lady and work out.
And she's talking with you, asking you questions about the school and so forth. So she would be talking with you. You'd have difficulty getting away from the conversation because you're the one with the knowledge about how she's going to do this, how she'll get the introduction, etc.
She'd be asking questions about how to set up a payment plan, or how much of it would be erased if she actually became an acolyte of Mystra, and probably asking questions about Mystra, and Relian would just say, "Ah, yes, Mystra of the magical bosom,"
which would make the lady blink just a bit.
Forgive he's a little bit colorful in language, but he has every intention of meaning well.
And Nokri will
general.
Probably poke somebody for a piece of paper and start writing down the address for our carpentry friend to help see if she can't give business to him to rebuild the stable.
Very good. So they will take that information and start pulling together, and the fact that the cow's going to be replaced, the chicken's going to be replaced. She's looking very much more relieved now. Neighbors are starting to gather around her and pat her on the back and offer condolences for having lost her few livestock, and some of them even volunteer to help.
Well, I do believe that solves the matter of your book thief, he says as they're walking away.
Okay, good. Okay, good.
You're not walking away? They need to...
No, because I still have one more question to ask the
Okay. Yeah, no, we're not leaving yet. We still have...
Void, non-canon.
Right.
Yes.
You'll know when, because that'll be where we'll call it, is as you walk away. But, what's Shepard doing?
It would be to both the delivery boy and the servant girl, since both were helping me. There was a young boy that was frightened away from your hand, from this monstrous hand that you summoned. Tell me what happened with that.
I was just trying to help, sir. I really was. I mean, every day, or almost every day, one of that gang is in there stealing stuff, and they're like rats. They scurry in and they're gone, and they scramble over boxes and they scramble through holes. And every merchant is so tired of things being stolen from them. And I thought, oh, this is my chance. I can grab him and turn him over to the authorities. I realized afterwards that I probably would have been arrested myself, but I just wanted to grab that child and scare him to death. Come to think of it, maybe I did.
Well, no, he did manage to run away, but what gang do you mean?
Oh, there's a street gang, sir. I don't know if they have a name, but they're all children. They're all waifs and orphans. And it's the ones that they didn't take in at the orphanages because no one brought them, or they ran away, or whatever. They're just the ones that live on the margin and all by themselves. They're pretty capable, actually, but they steal from everybody.
Do you think not if you were in that similar position that you would be doing so yourself?
Oh, I very likely would have been, but I wanted to stop him. I thought maybe if he got caught and put in prison, he'd stop doing it.
Sometimes if you go and try to punish them, they're just going to double down on their unfortunate situation. Perhaps approach them with a kinder hand. And
it's hard to approach him at all, sir. That's why I tried to use that magic, but it hurt when I used it. That was,
An untrained hand.
Yeah, that happens when people are not terribly trained, or I guess intuitively trained.
It's also just FYI, a very high-level spell, so she was trying to use something that was way over her ability, and she could have very easily killed her.
And I guess at this point, I would stop at the question, just retrieve the book.
Very good. She would run in very quickly and bring the book down to you, and it's clearly the tome that was described, Bigby's Hand and Other Spells, written in gold across the front of the large volume.
All right, then I turn around, start approaching the group, and just nonchalantly open the book and start looking through it, see if there's anything that's noteworthy.
It's the largest portion of the tome is a description about previous tomes and how it has brought you up to this stage, and how through your growth as a mage you will now need to recognize, and blah blah blah. It goes on into arcane descriptions of ley lines and things way above her head. Basically, the first half of the book is a warning about being properly conditioned to the level of magic you're about to undertake. It looks like it's a classroom tome.
Okay, so there's nothing, no secret messages, no hidden compartments.
It's just an expensive high-level tome of magic.
God damn, this child doesn't understand how expensive college textbooks really are.
Right. Precisely.
I just approached the group and the lady, and it seems I found my book after all. Unfortunately, it was not damaged from any of the remaining fire. I do appreciate it. The hard work that your servants had done to make sure it was not damaged.
Sorry, folks, just a little behind the scenes chant.
You're being goofy.
I'm being goofy too. Yes. The lady says, "Oh, I'm so glad, and it looks like most of the damage will be taken care of by your carpenter and our friends, and oh, I'm so relieved. I've had to count pennies a bit since my husband died. We don't have the Lord's pension anymore, you realize."
Just completely understandable. Still, with her training, she can most likely assist in aiding with finances, perhaps.
Oh, I'm quite
Yeah.
hopeful for that. It's why I'm willing to extend myself to this thing because even though it will strain me just a bit further on my budget, I can see where there is certainly financial success in helping her.
In having a magician.
Yes. And she then begins to turn her attention back towards the manor and the damage and the cow and the chickens. She's starting to be more concerned with the damage of the afternoon. And so now, book in tow, you head back to Troll Skull Alley. And what was Varys going to say?
How long ago was this?
About 20 minutes ago.
Or less than that. It was.
We solved our missing book problem.
Oh yeah, that pretty much.
As they're leaving the manor, Relian would just touch Eleanor on the Elena on the shoulder and say to her one final bit of wisdom. Elena, I wish you the best of luck, and I want you to remember something. Magic can be beautiful and useful, but it can also be dangerous. One of my teachers described it as, if you are untrained, it can be like a sword without a handle. It'll hurt you too.
She winces and she says, "It did, sir. It actually hurt."
Learn, practice, and you've got talent. I look forward to the day I can call you a colleague.
I do too, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you. You've saved my life today, and I thank you very much.
As they're leaving, Varys will say to Relian, "You handled that quite well. I'm glad that you were the ones I asked to go on my adventure with me."
Well,
She had the gift. I had to be as kind as I could. I couldn't leave her in that situation. It's one of the tenets of Mistra.
ironically enough, had this gone any other way, and as we're walking further away out of earshot type deal, I was actually prepared to start hiring the girl and get her the formal training going through that way. If this had gone south very quickly, but thankfully it didn't. Really,
No,
I
this
do
will work
believe
better.
the two of us work very well together.
You know what also works better?
Hmm.
Peanut butter and Spam.
I have never actually eaten the other, but
If I have not told the story on the stream before, and Mike probably has heard it,
Yep, I know exactly what you're talking about.
one of my sons, Todd, hello Todd, one of my sons, when he was a preteen, I came into the kitchen and he had a terrible face. And I said, "What's the matter, Todd?" And he said, "Oh, peanut butter and tuna sandwich is terrible."
Jeez.
I went like this and went, "Yeah, it probably is." And he goes, I said, "Why on earth would you try that?" He says, "Well, peanut butter and ham was just terrific."
Oh, no.
And I was like, "Okay, I think I'm going out now."
Your boy has special taste buds.
Give it to Mikey.
Yeah, only if he gave it to Mikey, of course, Mikey, the grandson, has peanut allergy, so yeah.
Expire, yes.
Yeah. So, anyway, yeah.
Yeah, just
Does
move.
Relian make that comment as we were walking away?
Yes.
Okay. Then I was gonna.
I'm the peanut butter.
I was gonna give you your book back. I think I've changed my mind.
No, please. He starts
It's
making
his-
grabby hands at the book, please.
Shepard, come now. Besides, I actually did need to talk to you. Besides getting this lovely little figurine for decoration purposes, I actually had considered getting a couple of different blessings from various religious sect to sort of ward the Troll Skull Manor and possibly give us a little bit of good luck on things. What did you think?
I only serve one god, and that would be one you would probably not want to have for a blessing.
Not even for protection or against death. Just I know there has to be at least a little something to say, all those who worship but welcome here type of deal.
I say that because of our bartender.
Oh.
Fair enough. We'll keep that in mind for away from her. Others I think would be a little bit better. But you could help guide me with this. It's a thought that I had ever since we started to leave the thing. I was just debating on getting at least some sort of protection against ill intent. Nothing to banish our dear lovely bartender, but just to protect us from that thing.
I may be able to help you with this. Relian may be able to as well.
I know a symbol and a blessing to help ward off harmful spells and magics, but it's not an actual incantation or anything. It's more of a, if you believe in it, yeah.
Like I said, I may be able to help you with this. Ignore that last part.
And I'm going to say, in the interest of time, you end this discussion at this point because we're running.
Do I get my book?
I don't know. Do you?
Just give him the book, please.
I want to see if he can outstrength me.
Oh God!
Oh my God!
Don't make me get involved.
This isn't going to be a strength check. This is going to be Relian blasting you into oblivion.
You may try.
It's time to do.
We'll pick up on this duel next time, because I need to handle some other things. But basically, you arrive back at Troll Skull Alley, and you would probably have time to conduct one more quest before the shepherd is required to go see a performance of an opera in the giant tongue, which ought to be very Wagnerian. And his is at 8 p.m., right?
Right. That's what you whispered me.
And so this evening he's going to go out to the theater to see that, so we'll be dealing with that. So next time you'll have one quest you can handle. You can decide what one that is during the week, during the 2 weeks, because we won't be here next week.
Left.
Well, Mike's got one. Isn't there one other running around somewhere? Anyway.
Yes, the one from the herbalist.
Yeah, that's a very minor one to pick up some herbs.
Oh, they're both outside the city walls.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you can probably actually do both at the same time.
That's true. You probably could. The problem being, I just thought Mike's quest will probably entail being somewhere overnight. So what you could probably do is you might be able to stay there overnight. Now, you don't have to have all these quests completed before the inn opens, because you have met your gold standards to get the inn open. So you can leave these. So you need to decide whether you're going to spend the rest of the day doing quests or whether you're going to spend the rest of the day setting up the cellar and doing these kinds of things for the brewing equipment, so forth and so on, because you've got opening tomorrow morning.
Right.
Yeah, I would say let's take the rest of the evening for
setting up.
setup. Yeah, set up and get things started.
In which case, we will begin next time with, I will tell Brett behind the scenes in his own chat what happens at the opera, because it's not like anything earth-shattering, but there is something that will go on, and he will be meeting with somebody at the opera. So I will tell him what that is that will go on there, so he can get that information. So he will have left during the night to watch an opera, to relax, he'll say, but he'll get some stuff that'll be of interest. And then we will pick up, in 2 weeks, we will pick up on the early morning of opening day.
Ooh. Oh my goodness.
And
2 weeks from now.
Yes, 2 weeks from now.
Opening on the beginning of the new year. Yay!
Oh my goodness, that's actually not
Close to New Year.
Yep. Quite a coincidence.
Not quite. Not quite. If we took a month off, then yeah, then we'd be starting in the New Year.
So we will see you on December 9th back here. The next
December
week.
8th.
True. One December 8th, correct. 2 weeks from today, we'll see you back to see what happens when they open the Troll Skull. There might be things happening. We'll see what goes on.
Yeah.
Good night, everyone.
Bye, everybody. Remember, inside every heavy person, there's a thin person struggling to get out. But don't worry, you can usually sedate them with 4 to 5 cupcakes.
Having just lost about 20 pounds unwillingly, I don't know if that's fun or not. Anyway,
Up, dude.
good night, everybody. Goodness sakes.